In deep state USA, the FBI doesn't solve crime, it manages crime. The CIA doesn't collect intelligence, it collects people. The courts don't meet justice, they contort it. The news doesn't report the news, they contort it. The deep state doesn't serve, it enslaves. But slavery is a choice. A slave submits. The cage is safe. Chains certain. Freedom is dangerous. The opposite of slavery is freedom. The opposite of a slave is a warrior. The enslaver demands submission. Say as you are told. Do as you are told, or else. The slave submits. The warrior refuses to submit. A warrior is dangerous, free, uncontrollable, unpredictable, unstoppable, relentless. I will never be a slave. I'm a warrior. What are you? I'm also a retired SOCOM soldier, DIA intelligence collector, and ex-DEA special agent, targeted by the deep state, turned whistleblower, now your intelligence officer, repurposed as chaplain, teacher, leader, and truth teller. New mission, restore our fallen republic. Objective, defeat the deep state. Means, expose fake news. Tools, truth, discernment, and free will. Dear deep state Dems, Antifa, BLM, rhinos, China, Russia, Iran, and assorted traitors and enemies, foreign and domestic. Your masks won't silence us. Your shutdowns won't stop us. Your riots don't scare us. You're not as disciplined as the British. You're not as organized as the Nazis. You're not as fierce as the Imperial Japanese. You're not as brutal as ISIS. And we beat them all. You're next. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Report. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for the prayers. I'm feeling a lot better, just a little bit of overworked there. A lot to cover. And it's important that we realize what we have accomplished together as Team America already. So when I outed Ezra as Q and said that Barr was going to indict him, and that's why I outed Ezra, you got the word out. And now Ezra is still in and Barr is leaving. We accomplished that. We are making a difference. I said that the DNI's report that is due on the 18th would be delayed, and it is delayed. And that is actually good news because there is a fight inside the intelligence community. And it's basically between the corrupted intelligence community and the uncorrupted intelligence community. So of the cyber hacks that have happened, only DNI, ODNI, Office of Director of National Intelligence, DIA, Space Force, and Air Force have not been hacked or affected by solar winds. So inside there is a fight, as I've said, between DIA and CIA, between U.S. Marshals and FBI. And if I was also wrong about Gina at CIA, then where is Gina? Why haven't we heard from Gina? Why hasn't she come out and said all this as it wrong? Also, Pompeo at the State Department has tweeted several times that China is a threat. Fired CISA director, Cyber Intelligence Security Agency, has admitted that Dominion was connected to the internet, and I covered that as well. So he has confirmed what I have said, and then what you have gotten out there. And together as Team America, we are making a difference. And that's very important to understand and realize, because when you're in the trenches, a lot of times you don't think you're winning. But I am prepared to say again that we are winning today. So A lot more to cover, but SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, doesn't seem to be anything. I think that they've been threatened. I think they've been blackmailed. I think they've been Scalia'd, so to speak. But DNI Radcliffe has put out more declassified notes that admitted Brennan's handwritten notes. Again, notes go into a case file showing, and he had released some of this before, but was releasing more, that this was Hillary's idea to smear Trump. And then, of course, Biden went along with the Logan Act as well. And Comey lied about this again and perjured himself again, just as Brennan and Comey have lied. But I'm going to explain to you why they feel that they can lie and perjure themselves over and over, because they can get away with it. And I will explain why I think Barr is gone, because he has failed to get control of the deep state FBI. And so a lot to cover. So why did Hunter Biden, James Biden, which is Joe Biden's brother, and top DOJ leaders and a Chinese billionaire hold a last-minute meeting in 2017 with New York Governor Cuomo? What was that about? And if he was a billionaire, was he bribing them and changing money? The FBI, CISA, and the Office of the DNI not only have just said that their intelligence assessment is on hold because there is a dispute between the intelligence community members over China. And it's not just China, it's China, Russia, and Iran primarily. But they are putting together a rapid response task force. Things are happening very quickly behind the scenes. The cyber war is raging through a combat cloud. And I just posted on my Patreon. And if you want to go into deep dives and see all the details, the proofs, the articles, the videos of what I'm talking about, you can go to patreon.com, Jeffrey Prather. You can also like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel since it's still up. And in a day or so, this show will go up on jeffreyprather.com as well, JEFFREYPRATHER. But the FBI, CISA, and Office of DNI are pursuing significant cybersecurity incidents with SolarWinds Orion products. That is hugely significant. Meanwhile, the Michigan Democrat Secretary of State, Benson, refuses to testify before legislative oversight. So they aren't just going along. The DNI is not just going along with, okay, it was Russia. They are fighting. There is an internal fight over this. And it's very significant that Barr, Gina, and Barr are quiet. Again, Krebs, Chris Krebs, who was the CISA director, did admit under oath that Dominion voting machines were linked to the internet. And I've done deep dives on how those were connected to a commicidal Smartmatic. And Michigan Attorney Matthew DePerno, Dominion CEO, did not tell the truth about sealed and locked ballot machines in Atrim. They were not all sealed. And Sidney Powell's case is finally going to the Supreme Court. So the DNI, which is the Director of National Intelligence, which is in charge of all the intelligence community, and the State Department, both have announced in recent days that there was foreign election interference and that China was involved. That is a huge change and very important. Department of Defense hasn't said anything, because if the Department of Defense says something, that could be considered an act of overt war, and we are in fifth generational unrestricted warfare and in the combat cloud of warfare, which is a whole circumstance of events happening. And I'm going to read you in on that. So the title of this show was FBI Fraud. And it really applies to a lot of agencies, such as the CIA, CISA. But I think the FBI and the CIA are the worst, but the FBI is the best example to explain, although this is historic. Cyber war is raging. Fifth generational combat cloud warfare is raging covertly internationally around the world, but especially here around our elections, because the traitors and enemies are desperate to keep President Trump from stopping the dark economy and the deep state. And they're lying under oath because they are all in. They are deep all in. But because the FBI has been compromised. And I think that's why Trump put out an announcement saying he had a good working relationship with Barr, but Barr could not make headway there through the Department of Justice as the Attorney General. So a little bit of a deep dive, but stay with me. So in 2000, the US FBI initiated its Trilogy program in order to upgrade FBI infrastructure technologies and address national security concerns. And they hired prime contractor SAIC, Science Applications International Corporation. At Warrior School, we've done work with them back in the day, although it fell apart. And Ghislaine Maxwell's twin sisters, Christine Maxwell's, had a tech company called Chiliad. It's still up, chiliad.com. Chiliad contracted with SAIC to develop the FBI's new technology that would become a shared database for FBI, CIA, DOJ, NSA, DHS, and the Five Eyes countries. So Ghislaine Maxwell's sister her company was involved in putting this structure together through SAIC, through a cutout. And of course, Ghislaine Maxwell, I've talked about, many other citizen journalists have talked about, is in thrall to Mossad through her family connections and through Epstein Island run through Mossad. So after 9/11, Chiliad drove the first deployment of Chiliad software within the U.S. intelligence community to create a virtual knowledge environment across the distributed information stovepipes, databases, and applications. So remember, before 9/11, nobody was information sharing. And so that was the problem, because who's really going to find terrorists after 9/11? Was beat cops and guys out in the community, not case officers, not tier one operators. But a while back, I told you that a year or two back, I went up to the ACTIC, the Arizona Counterterrorism Intelligence Center, and said I wanted to meet. And I gave them my social and my DOB. And I said, I'm all over JPass, which is the classified system, so you can verify my credentials. And I went up there because I had source information. And I went in and I said, where's the FBI? And they said, they're not here. I said, okay, then do you guys have clearances? No, we don't. So then how are you getting classified information? So the fusion centers that were set up were not doing anything. The same thing with the CIA programs to bring in DE agents. For example, it was a one-way flow of information, as often happens in a lot of non-functioning intelligence environments. So I had said, hey, I want to give some information, but I think the FBI is compromised. I don't want to give it to the FBI as the pass-through. I wanted to go to this other state. I wanted to go from Arizona, from the ACTIC, to this other state's fusion center. And so I told him that. And a couple of days later, I got a phone call from an FBI agent saying, who's your source? Not what about the information, who's your source? So that was the end of that. So the FBI is very incompetent and very corrupt. And I'm going to continue to delve into explain that. So Chiliad software was praised as solving all the issues that arose on 9/11. Of course, we know that the FBI, and I've done deep dives on this, let the Israeli art students into the country, passing through customs. I have talked to task force agents that have overheard ICE, back then it was customs, complaining about the FBI letting these guys through customs. When you're going to go in, you don't pass through customs normally if you're working with a special operations team or intelligence or federal. Somebody meets you and takes you through. It's like you're a diplomatic pal. I've done it many times. So Chiliad went on to create the Counterterrorism Investigative Data Warehouse based on the 9/11 Commission's most pointed recommendations. all well and fine there, even though my peer Tony Schaefer at DIA had data mined Osama bin Laden before that and had been ignored. And then when he whistle blew, well, he just answered the questions of the 9/11 Commission. Then they targeted him, just like I was targeted by DEA and the FBI agent up in northern Arizona who wanted to investigate the flyers of the planes into the towers. I was told not to do that, do something else. So it wasn't so much an intelligence failure as an intelligence leadership failure, and it was purposeful. Those were decisions clearly made, consistently made, and not just once. So in 2010, the company Cargo Metrics was founded by Scott Bjorgensen, who would later go on to marry Ghislaine Maxwell. And Cargo Metrics has been dubbed the NSA of global trade. So think Evergreen Containers, think Mitch McConnell's wife's Chinese container ship magnate. The Maxwell family has amassed control over the entire globe's internet information, including the ocean. And that is why you hear McConnell saying, oh, I'm congratulating President-elect Biden because he is in on it. In May 2011, history was made when President Barack Obama asked Robert Mueller to continue at the helm of the FBI 2 years additionally. So why would he ask that? Why would he want him to stick around? Well, in 2005, the FBI awarded the new Sentinel contract to Lockheed Martin, which is another big defense contractor. You know, Warrior School was a small defense contractor, although we did work with many of the big ones, but we were just training guys for pre-deployment and gals. So in 2005 to 2010, Comey, the one who keeps lying and perjuring and can't remember anything, became senior vice president of Lockheed Martin as general counsel. And the Bureau's IT staff, the FBI's IT staff, took over the project in 2010, the same year Comey left Lockheed Martin. They increased the total cost of the system by $26 million to $450 million, as it was still not finished for use. What other covert system was being set up that wasn't being disclosed? Because those who hold the access to the information hold the power. And an audit of the project found that only 4 of 18 forms that were meant to be web-based had been migrated to Sentinel, even FBI agents, by and large, on the print treadmill. I remember this in DEA too. We were supposed to go paperless, and we ended up doing more paper. Of course, I'm an old dinosaur, and I actually went back to, I remember carbon paper and pink, green, and yellow whiteout. So even the mainstream media was questioning what happened with the Sentinel system after some $453 million had been spent with no results. The FBI's own IT department took it over finally to complete the project. They hired their own assets. So after years of frustration, hundreds of millions of dollars lost on a system that didn't work, the FBI finally deployed a new $451 million computer system called Sentinel. So think about Hillary Clinton's illegal server in her basement bathroom. Who would have set that up? What did it connect to? I've talked about that quite a bit, but who would have been the setup for that? Was it CrowdStrike? Was it the FBI? Because the FBI was closely working with CrowdStrike. So was this part of the elaborate shadow gate, or rather shadow government Sentinel setup so that it could communicate? Is this part of the BlackBerry system? So in recent days, of course, it has broken that SolarWinds Orion is a giant hack. But the cyber attack is still ongoing right now. It has not been fixed. It is historic. It is bigger than it has ever been. The malicious DLL, which is a dynamic link library, last time I checked, was still on the SolarWinds website. So that then, when somebody goes onto that website to enter, that then infects whoever is entering. So this is historic, and it infects anything. This SolarWinds Orion software interfaces with Sentinel, which is the FBI system I was just talking about, which was developed and created by Ghislaine Maxwell's sister and her company, Gilead. And of course, what have we heard about the FBI prosecuting Stroke and Page, Comey, and nothing? What have we heard about the FBI prosecuting Maxwell? Nothing. So the SolarWinds base code has been infected because it was written by the Maxwells, which were linked into Mossad. And this goes back to Mossad working with the FBI to bring into the Israeli art students. And when they were in the towers before 9/11, and also when they were trying to, and I've done deep dives on this too, when they were also trying to infiltrate DEA. Why DEA? Because I don't think DEA had been corrupted at that point. DEA was the first truly international law enforcement agency carrying guns in foreign countries, not like Interpol. And so the FBI, DNI, CISA has created a new task force, a rapid response task force that is looking at this right now. But the good news is that both the DNI and the State Department have said that there was foreign election interference. That activates, or should activate, Trump's emergency executive order that we've been talking so much about. And the only reason we haven't heard the DOD say anything about that is because they don't want to declare an overt war, because that plays into the hands of the enemy. Just like when you're running an insurgency. So remember, this is unrestricted warfare established by the Chinese government. We're starting to hear that term come up. So I've put that out, and then you've put that out. So we are making a difference. And that's how in this cyber age, we can make a difference. I don't think, people are saying, "I'll sign a petition." What do you think happens to those petitions? Do you think they are actually read? Do you think anybody reads through those? And since it's said to one person, do you think the congressman or the corrupt senator actually reads those? What do you think happens with those? They go in the trash. Nothing happens. But as we put this information out, we are conducting informational warfare, telling the truth, and counter cyber warfare. So moving forward, and again, I'm just using the FBI as one example. This is throughout the community, but I think the FBI is the most corrupt because I don't see the FBI doing anything. All I see the FBI, if they're not shooting each other, shooting people in bars, shooting themselves, doing backflips when they lose their gun and shooting people. They are entrapping hapless Muslim kids as terrorists, because it's much easier to create your own case than actually go out and discover a case. So in May 2012, the FBI awarded a $19 million contract to operate and maintain Orion for 8 years. And Orion, and we all have these databases, like mine in the DA was NATIS, Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs Information System. NCIS is National Crime Information System. So Orion stands for Operational Response and Investigative Online Network, but it interfaces with Sentinel. And Orion provides case management and related information processing capabilities to support federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies in a coordinated response to crises. And remember, I said crises and critical incidents. Remember, I said that because we're going to come back to that in a second. However, 44 of the 172 deleted requirements in the FBI IT systems included 15 requirements related to crisis management were deleted because they duplicated functions provided by Orion in the Sentinel system. Well, if you know anything about cybersecurity, and I work a lot in cybersecurity, you want redundancy. You don't have one security system, you have multiple security systems. So why would you get rid of, you would reduce yourself to one? Anybody who knows anything about cybersecurity would never do that. Data integration and visualization system, DIVS. 10 requirements related to Sentinel's research capabilities were deleted because they overlapped with DIVS. Case document access review. 5 requirements related to capability of special agents to monitor who views the documents within their cases were deleted because Sentinel did not subsume the case document access review. It's like when Clinton got elected, we were told not to natus Clinton and Tyson chicken because there were records in there. Delta. 6 requirements were deleted because Delta subsumed 2 legacy human intelligence systems that were originally to be subsumed by Sentinel. Delta is a confidential human source management system that provides FBI agents and intelligence analysts a uniform means of handling the administrative aspect of maintaining human sources. So what does this mean? This means that they were open and vulnerable to hacking, and they have been. The deleted requirements that I just mentioned were approved by senior FBI leadership and provided a justification for their removal. For example, the FBI eliminated all 15 SRS requirements in the crisis management functional area because Orion, which was deployed in 2008, would interface with Sentinel, and the FBI decided it was not necessary or cost-effective for Sentinel to do that. Well, let me tell you about budgets, federal budgets. They hoard budgets, and then at the last quarter, they would come to me as a firearms guy. Hey, you want to buy targets, whatever you want to buy, because we want to always spend our budget so we can ask for more next year, because every agency always wants to expand their budget. It's the opposite of efficiency in private business. So why would the FBI do a cost-cutting measure? It doesn't make any sense. Anybody in government will tell you that. So that's why I say that the FBI is incompetent and corrupt. And again, graduated from the FBI Academy in 1990, worked with the hero of the FBI Miami gunfight, Ed Morales, personal friend. But this is where the FBI has devolved to. It is Frankenstein monster brought to life under the Obama administration. It was fading. It's always been, not what it purported to be. Just like with Bonnie and Clyde, everybody thinks the FBI got Bonnie and Clyde. The FBI didn't get Bonnie and Clyde. Some Texas Rangers got Bonnie and Clyde, but the FBI put out the press report about that, and they were going after Martin Luther King. So, but this is really historic, because this is a covert 5th generational cyber war combat cloud raging around the world right now. You just don't see most of it. And it's really good news that the report was delayed, because the intelligence report that was due to President Trump by the DNI, because they can't make up their mind. So there's a fight going on. There's an internal fight going on to tell the truth, as opposed to just go along with the story. And of course, Krebs at CISA, who is fired, isn't going to tell the truth because he was duped or he was in on it. The FBI is not going to tell the truth because they were duped or they're in on it. It certainly looks, from what I just went through, that they were all in on it. So again, I was right that the report would be delayed, and that is good news. So tell me where I've been wrong. I often say that to people who've been training with me or working with me for decades, and they can't think of the last time one of my intelligence predictions was wrong. Back in October, DNI Radcliffe and FBI Director Wray warned that Russia and Iran were attempting to influence the 2020 election. And Radcliffe said these are desperate attempts by desperate adversaries. And so that goes along with what I'm saying is they are very desperate because they are being exposed. The deep state is being exposed. This is historic. Radcliffe noted, for example, that intimidating emails that were sent to Democrats in battleground states such as Florida, Arizona, where I'm at, Pennsylvania, appeared to be aimed at intimidating them into voting for President Trump. These emails falsely were purported to be from a far-right group called the Proud Boys and warned that we'd come after them. So what is that? That's disinformation. That's a Russian disinformation and Iranian disinformation, which we've talked about before. Back then in October, China was not mentioned. And a lot of this does not go straight back to China. But of course, on other fronts, I have drawn bright lines of evidence and analyzed information, intelligence, right back to China. But in October, China wasn't mentioned, but now China is being mentioned. And that's what I want you to understand is that we together on Team America are making a difference. Much more so than putting out a signed petition that just goes into the garbage and they don't pay attention to because it's in a dark office and they don't see it. So that is good news. Another bit of good news is FBI Director Wray, who is pretty much useless, has told Congress that the FBI is opening a new China counterintelligence investigation every 10 hours. Well, 10 hours, if you're, so when you're a federal agent in 1811, you get availability pay, overtime pay, which means it's like you're working 10 hours because a lot of times you get called out. So they just round it off. So there's an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening. A lot of agents come in early or stay late to make that availability pay. So in FBI talk, that's just a day. So what he's really saying, he doesn't really want to say it correctly, but he's really saying is we're opening a new China counterintelligence investigation every day. So that is really good news because he's being forced to admit the truth about China, even though he has been very much compromised. And even Bill Barr, who went silent and stopped talking and is leaving. And again, after I outed Ezra as Q and said that Barr was going to indict him, and then you all put the word out there and spread the word together as Team America. Now Barr's leaving, Ezra's still in. And even Barr has had to say that he has seen intelligence that shows specifics on Chinese election threats in the United States, and that he has come to the conclusion by reviewing relevant intelligence documents that China was involved in an election hack. So this is all very good news and very important that we are fighting back against the traitors and against the foreign enemies and taking back our country and reestablishing our republic. I can't emphasize enough how historic this is, what's going on right now. Unless they get control and they rewrite history, as they often do, the victors write the history. That's why in Japan, the ninja are the bad guys, and why in Westerns, the Indians are the bad guys, because they get to write the history. But this is historic, what is happening right now, and important. And what I'm saying, and when you are putting out what I'm saying and spreading that word, it is making a difference. And I want you to see that and see how important that is. And again, the investors in the breached software firm SolarWinds traded $280 million of stock days before the hack was revealed. This harkens back to the stock sell-off before 9/11 as well. And this is just creating a deep state serfdom so that the giant business companies can have more serfs, more peasants under their control. as they eliminate local business. So I will be talking more in the future about how we can defeat that. And I've written articles on that. But in one sentence, it's buy local, build local communities, neighbor up, church up, and then team up, combine skill sets, make plans to oppose BLM and Antifa as they're going to come in, because they are going to come in. They're not going to stop when all this is over. And even if Biden illegally wins, they're not going to stop. They're going to get more aggressive. Just like any kind of bully in a schoolyard or a bar, until you punch them in the nose or knock them down, they're going to keep coming because they have been paid off. They have been praised. And like I said on the show, I did a while back on an undercover operative inside Antifa. Violence is fun. Yeah, violence is fun until you're on the other end of it. So, the SEC, Frankel, as former senior counsel in the SEC's division, says, yeah, of course we'll be looking at this. But this goes to the Silver Lake, a Silicon Valley investor with a history of high-profile tech deals, including Dell and Twitter, sold $158 million in shares of SolarWinds on December 7th, 6 days before news of the breach became public. Thoma Bravo, a San Francisco-based private equity firm, also sold $128 million of its shares in SolarWinds on December 7th. Just like all of the battleground states stopping at the same time and coming back on the line on the same time, they're all selling out at the same time. If we had real investigators who were not corrupt and not incompetent, because there are SEC investigators and IRS investigators, although there's FinCEN, which I've worked on too, this would be easy to make a case and certainly to get before a grand jury. But again, we see the FBI protecting all the criminals. And that's why the criminals are so bold. That's why Brennan and Comey, Stroke and Page all lie, because they have control through the FBI's own Orion system, which is not just limited to Orion. It's through many other federal agencies and intelligence and counterintelligence services as well. So I hope that is making sense to you. So together, the two investment firms owned 70% of SolarWinds and control 6 of the company's board seats, giving the firm access to key information. And 3 executives from Thoma Bravo are directors of the SolarWinds: Seth Barrow, James Lyons, and Michael Hoffman. 3 executives from Silver Lake: Kenneth Howell, Michael Bingle, and Mike Widman are also on the board. But again, in a joint statement, representatives from Silver Lake and Thomas Bravo, it's interesting, they're making a statement together. Was a private placement with a single institutional investor, and added the investment firms were not aware of this potential cyber attack at SolarWinds prior to entering into the deal. So a single institutional investor did both of these on the same time. And you're telling me that, you're not telling me, but anybody who's been a criminal investigator, federal investigator, 1811 special agent, could not would not have enough probable cause to open an investigation here? Of course there is. But again, the FBI doesn't solve crime. It manages crime. Why? Because it's been totally compromised. It has been totally corrupted. It is done, as is the CIA. But U.S. Marshals look pretty good. DIA looks pretty good. DNI looks pretty good. And as far as I know, they haven't been corrupted. And Space Force and U.S. Air Force have not been corrupted. They're using a micro sentinel system, some other alternative system that has been not used across the board like these systems have. Because SolarWinds is just across the board controlling this market. Company said that Sudhakar Ramakrishna, a former executive of the software company Citrix Systems and Pulse Secure, will take over Thompson's resignation at the end of the year. That's interesting for some of you listening, Citrix. So that is the summation that the DNI and the State Department have declared a China threat and also a China, Russian, Iran foreign interference that activates the executive order. SolarWinds Orion software interfaces with Sentinel, the FBI system developed by Ghislaine Maxwell's sister, and her company Gilead, which has links back to Mossad, which goes back to 9/11 and the Israeli art students. And further, they have links to Obama and the Clintons as well. So, SolarWind, if you look up SolarWind on the SEC website, Edgar, EDGAR, you'll find that the company was acquired in 2016 by investment firms Silver Lake and Thoma Bravo, which I've been talking about. Then in 2018, the company went public through an IPO, initial public offering. And the buyout firm, who now owns SolarWinds, was founded by a Puerto Rican billionaire who contributed over $100K to the Clintons in 2016. His name is Orlando Bravo. And we've seen the Clintons doing a lot of child crimes through Haiti and Puerto Rico. Thoma Bravo also purchased DigiCert in 2015. DigiCert and Entrust verify the elections for at least half of the United States, and the U.S. Entrust is also closely related to a firm by the name of LiveRamp, which is located in Shanghai. So again, more bright intelligence and evidence lines right back to corrupt agencies, corrupt politicians, and foreign enemies. Another interesting thing I thought listening to fired CISA Director Krebs testify is that we've got to, he didn't even want to countenance that there might be leaks. So any real intelligence professional is always respectful of the enemy's intelligence and is always interested in that. Of course, that's the Democratic mantra is 2016 was hacked, but 2020 is perfect. Even though Mueller, Dachenko, Mifsud, all of that, no indictments. They also didn't go after Dachenko, the FBI said, because he left the country. Very strange, since the FBI works worldwide. It's just to cover up for corruption. But Krebs kept talking about, we've got to stop these rumors. And if you go to the CISA website, you'll even see there is rumor control. There is a whole page on rumor versus reality. What do we call that? That's state propaganda. You can't think for yourself. So didn't spend a lot of time saying, well, we might have troubles here, even though we're connected to the Gemini machines, we're connected to the internet, and there is cyber warfare. But I just got to focus on rumor control. And this is a so-called rhino, which is who we should really be angry about. The Dems have told us who they are, but the rhinos, supposedly like Mueller and Barr, are real traitors. So Ray, FBI Director Ray, said even more that China's theft of U.S. research and intellectual property has had a perverse effect because it is much affected, taxpayer funded, at China's extensive efforts to steal information could be seen as advancing China on the U.S. taxpayers' dime. Ray said that there's been about a 1,300% increase in terms of economic espionage investigations with a Chinese nexus from about a decade ago. 1,300. And I know that's true because I work in competitive intelligence, corporate security. And that is part of fifth generational unrestricted warfare and cloud combat, not taking us on head on. But even the suits up in DC are finally starting to catch on, saying covert war, China threat, and foreign election interference. So that is all very good news. I keep getting asked to talk something about the vaccines, and I'm going to work on that more. I have projects in the work as alternatives for that. But we have to deal with the biggest threat first. We have to stop the steal of the election. So the ex-pharma insider, whistleblower, and founder of the vaccine safety site, Brandy Vaughn, has been found dead. And according to the Children's Health Defense, Vaughn is reported to have died of gallbladder complications, although the source of report has not been cited. Just like Scalia, no autopsy. And Brandy said, I've never had any thoughts of taking my own life, not once, not ever. I have never been on antidepressants, nor been diagnosed as depressed. Don't believe it if you ever hear anything about that. So she was very well aware of this because big pharma is tied into big China. And as I've said, deep state economy is drugs, people, and weapons. And really, that's if you just wanted to put it in one context, you'd say biotech, because weapons used by human beings and used against human beings, and drugs used on human beings as well. So you could really just sum up the deep state dark economy as biotech, and the giants in biotech are big pharma. And she was an opponent of big pharma. And big pharma is in trouble right now because the same legal precedents that were used against big tobacco are being used now against big pharma. As an aside, I am a Lakota Chanupe Wichasa, which is a Sioux pipe holder, which is a way to pray. I was blessed and ordained to pray with a prayer pipe. Most people call it a peace pipe. And Indian tobacco, indigenous tobacco, does not give you cancer, just like chewing cocoa leaves doesn't do anything bad to you as well. It's when you put other chemicals into it. But Brandy said, my son Bastian means everything to me. I would never leave him, period. I'm not on anything that could kill me unexpectedly or suddenly. If something were to happen to me, it's foul play, and you know who and exactly why. So she was also concerned about the death of Dr. Ben Johnson, who was also a vaccine whistleblower as well. So remember, in the beginning of my show, I've said quite a bit that the deep state wants you fattened up and drugged up because you are much easier to control. And Vaughn knew what she was talking about. She had worked as a pharmaceutical sales representative for Merck. And she revealed that Merck's drug Vioxx has falsified safety data, and Vioxx actually had twice the increase in heart attacks and strokes because it had aluminum in it. So prayers for Brandy and her family as well. And be careful, which is not the same thing as saying be safe. I don't say be safe. Freedom is dangerous. Be careful, but not be safe. Freedom is dangerous. And when you're repeating that mantra of be safe, that means stay masked, stay at home, don't celebrate Christmas, don't get together with your family. Just do what the deep state tells you to do. And of course, it's already come out that Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg had announced that he and his wife have donated an additional $100 million to safe elections. And they had already donated $350 million since September 1st. All of a sudden, at the last minute, all of this money for the Center for Election Innovation and Research. Election Innovation and Research. Sounds a lot like SolarWinds and Orion and Sentinel. Executives at CTCL had said that this is the Center for the Democratic Party's digital wizardry. So what's that? Magic, as in changing vote results. Of the 20 recipients of CTCL grants, and I've got them all here, every one of them is more than, people complain about the way I put this up, so I'll see if I can put this up. Every one of them is twice, the Democrats get twice as much as the Republicans ever do on that. So that is the intelligence report for today. I'm going to close down a little bit early per my wonderful wife's request. I'm recovering a little, working a little too hard. I do have confirmed intelligence that Canada is hosting Chinese People Liberation Army as soon as last year. So, fear not, God bless, keep the faith, and hold fast. The news is fake, the polls are fixed, the pundits are lying, the politicians are cheating, the swamp is deep, deeper than we thought. The enemy's desperate, and they're getting more desperate. That's why they're so overt. They're pushing hate, death, and ignorance. But in their ignorance, they mistake force for power. Power is not force. Intimidation is not inspiration. Power and inspiration come from God. God is not with us, but we are with God. The enemy denies God. And so in the end, they will be powerless. So today I'm going to say we are winning again. This is what winning looks like. It's not fun. It's not easy. It's an hour and a half movie. Watch The Outpost. It's not a special forces unit. It's just regular Army infantry. And some general puts this little outpost surrounded by cliffs in Afghanistan, and they get attacked from all four sides, and they survive and win. That's what winning looks like. 2 Medal of Honor recipients from that battle, Silver Stars, tremendous effort. See The Outpost. And when the QRF comes over the hill, the captain leading the QRF Quick Reaction Force looks down and goes, "Damn, I'm glad they're on our side." And that's exactly what the enemy is thinking right now, is they are scared and they are desperate. So fear not, God bless, keep the faith, hold fast. We are winning. This is what winning looks like. Remember, freedom is never given. It is earned. It is won. It is fought for. It is taken.